what the man you will fight for. Give everything you got today, not because of the Super Bowl, but because when this game ends, you'll have a brother to call for life.
What's up, One Youth? We are starting a brand new series today called Game Time. And this is not just any ordinary series. It's going to be a very unique series because it's not just me talking. Every week, we're going to have a brand new speaker, but they're also people that you actually know. So they're your leaders from One Youth, and they're going to be sharing their stories about just their life. And I'm so excited just to be in the audience for that, and then just to see how God uses their story for his purpose. And so today we're going to be kind of talking about the intro of this entire series, and I want to talk to you guys about it today. And I want to label this, my message today, Turning Point. Turning Point. And I want to read to you a passage from Luke 19. It's just verses 1 through 10. If you guys have ever been into a Sunday school class, you will have heard of this character named Zacchaeus. And so read along with me, and it's from verse 1 through 10, NIV. It says this: Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed up a sycamore fig tree to see him. So since Jesus was coming that way, because Jesus was coming that way. So when Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him into his house gladly. All the people saw this and they began to mutter, they began to gossip, and they said, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times that amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." And I labeled this message Turning Point because back, I think maybe 2016 is when this show started. It's called NFL Turning Point. Might have been even sooner than that. But when this show kind of came on and they kind of did the introductions of it, I was very interested because, first of all, I love football. And if you know me, if you come to One Youth, you know I love sports. And this show is such a cool, impactful, insightful show that what it actually does is it looks at some of the biggest games from the past week. So games usually played Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. And then what they do is they look back, usually on a game on Sunday. And it's usually between 2 really big teams or 2 teams that competed really heavily that day. But one team edged out the other team and obviously won the game. And the cool thing with the show is that every episode, they do it every week. And every episode, they look at the game and they say, what was the defining moment? What was the turning point in this game? What gave the Chicago Bears an edge over the Green Bay Packers, or what gave the Baltimore Ravens an edge over the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like, what was the defining moment in this game? And oftentimes, when we think about a big, impactful moment, we think, oh, it was when they scored the touchdown, or it was when they got an interception. But oftentimes, what I saw in the show is that it was the little things. The little things actually were the turning point. And I want to talk to you today about one of the greatest people in my life who is actually, he had one of the greatest impacts in my life, but he has actually passed away 3 to 4 years ago now. It was my coach, Brandon McGuire, in high school. He was my JV football coach, and I started playing football when I was in 10th grade, and he was my first coach, and he believed in me, and he poured into me, and he loved me. But he was also really, really hard on me. If you guys have had any coaches, you know how that relationship can be. And I remember after my first year, I was like, I don't even know if I want to play varsity, but I decided to. And so we were in training camp for my junior year, and it was a really big practice because it was deciding who was going to start at one of the offensive line positions, and it was between me, two other juniors, and a senior. And so it came to this point where my coach Brandon, he believed in me because he saw something that I did not yet see. But I remember I had a very, very bad morning practice, a terrible morning practice, and I was even thinking about giving up on football. Like, that's how bad it was. And we had two-a-days at this time, so we were going up to the cafeteria to have lunch in between our practices. And he pulled me aside. He said, Jake, what's going on, man? I said, Coach, I don't know, man. It's just hot. I'm tired. He said, listen, I don't want to hear any excuses because I know exactly what you're capable of. He said, you're thinking too much. I need you to go out there and do exactly what you can do. Everything you did last year, everything you've been doing in practice, I want you to go out and do that thing. And so that moment impacted my life so much because I was able to drown out my thoughts. I was able to drown out my fears. I was able to drown out the heat, drown out the exhaustion. And I was actually able to become a starter on my football team that year. And it was some of the best exposure for me for collegiate athletic in the future, collegiate athletics in the future. Thank you. But the thing is that many people would have looked at me and said, the turning point of my life, the turning point of my football career was when I came out at that second practice and I balled out and I continued to do that the next day and the next day and the next day. But really the turning point of my football career was in between practices when I was at my lowest. And Coach Brandon came and talked to me and he poured life into me and he showed me who I actually was and not who I thought I was. And man, this is exactly what Jesus did with his friend Zacchaeus. And the first thing I want to talk to you guys about today is that when we want to see a turning point or when we want to be a part of a turning point, the first thing we have to look out for is this: intentions. Intentions. You see, Jesus was just passing through and it says Jesus was entered Jericho and was passing through. It says that in the first verse. Jesus' intentions had brought him into a place. I can think more directly, it had brought him to a place only to walk through it because he was on a journey and his destination was not necessarily Jericho. But can I tell you this? Sometimes the places that we end up or the places that we travel through, we oftentimes miss opportunities because we have the wrong intentions. We miss relationships because we have the wrong intentions. We miss opportunities because we have the wrong intentions. And can I tell you what wrong intentions sometimes look like? Wrong intentions sometimes look like being too focused on your actual goal. Being too focused on what you are actually trying to achieve. And what the two root words in those two phrases were is maybe if you're saying it to yourself, you're saying, I'm too focused on this or I'm too focused on that. And Jesus' intentions were to be focused on everybody around him. And you see, while he was walking through the crowd, he looked up into a tree. He looked up and saw somebody that he may not have normally have seen. And you see, this is the thing that I saw with Jesus. It may have been his obligation, or it may have been his job to be walking through that city. Like, that's just where he was. But my question sometimes is, what if this story was not in the Bible? What if this opportunity was missed? What if Jesus did not call out Zacchaeus? We would have missed some of the greatest, or one of the greatest stories of redemption in the Bible. You see, in this time, tax collectors were bad people. What they did is they would take taxes from their own people. You see, Zacchaeus was a Jew. And what he would do is, when he took taxes, the only way that Zacchaeus got paid was because he would take extra money from his own people, because the actual tax that he collected had to go to the government, but everything extra that he collected was from his own people. And so when Jesus was walking through, he had the intention of meeting somebody who seemed like he was the furthest from being saved. And I know that you guys have friends or you guys have people in your schools that seem like they're the furthest from being saved. But can I tell you this? They are up in a tree watching you. They aren't around the corner of the hallway. They're watching you. And man, can I just challenge you today, like when you go back to school, maybe this summer vacation, just text them, like be a part of their life and have the right intentions, because we have a job or an obligation, maybe just to be a kid, or we have a job or obligation to be a sophomore in high school or an 8th grader in middle school. But can I tell you this, or ask you this? What would it look like if you went above and beyond your place or your position of where you were at? What is your intention? Are you there just to exist, or are you there to make an impact? And the second thing I want to talk to you about is purpose. And purpose is a very similar word with intention, but I think a purpose is an actual follow through on the intention. You see, Jesus was walking through this place and he had the intentions of just walking through, but once he encountered somebody that he knew needed him, he realized there was purpose in the journey. And can I tell you that somebody, you hear today that there is purpose in your journey? Like I remember talking to Coach Brandon, and he was just a JV football coach, but he had one of the greatest impacts in my life because he had encouraged me so much that he helped me continue my journey of football. And this is the crazy part, because I think about my life so much, and I think about the choices that I make and the choices that I didn't make. And I often wonder to myself, I wonder, what if I never had that conversation? What if I had quit football? What if I had just gone to school? What if I was just a student at school? What college would I have picked? What relationships would I have developed? Like who would I have actually become? And I'm not gonna lie to you, like I know that God can use every situation like however he wants it. But I believe that by the impact of people on my life, that he has brought me exactly to where he wants me and wanted me to be. And you see, Coach Brandon, like he wasn't a Christian. Like he didn't love Jesus, but he was still able to be used by God. And his purpose was to meet me in a place where I felt the lowest. And this is the thing I want us to realize today, is that our purpose could be so much greater if we realized how important we are. And along with purpose, you have to realize how on purpose you are. Like you're never in any place on accident. You're never in any place just because of life circumstances. Like everything that you go through has a purpose, and you're there on purpose. Because Jesus was just walking through it and the crowd started to surround him. And Jesus could have picked anybody else in the crowd, but he looked up into a tree to a man who, if he was on the ground, would not have been seen, but took the initiative because he actually cared and he wanted to find something out, and he wanted to find something greater than who he actually was. And in this moment, Jesus realized that he was there for a purpose, and he was there on purpose, and so was Zacchaeus in the tree. And the last thing I want to talk to you about today is impact. Impact. We talked about intentions, we talked about purpose, but this last thing is impact. You see, the way that we live our lives will impact people whether we like it or not. Every person you come into contact with, you will either positively impact them, you will negatively impact them, or you will just, you will meet in the middle, and you may not leave a good or bad memory with them. But can I tell you this, is that in this season of Corona, in this season of summer vacation, you have a job to do. Like as a Christ follower, as a Christian, somebody who models their life after Jesus, we have to make sure that we're going into places and we're leaving an impact. Because if you actually live your life like that, people are watching you. People are looking at your every move. And the thing is that the reason that we're calling this whole series Game Time is because we're focused around sports. But can I tell you this, is that we're never on intermission. We're never on halftime being a Christ follower. Like we should always be on our game. I'm not saying you can't have bad days. I'm not saying that you can't have good days. But the thing is that we have a job to do. We are sent here, and we are in our first quarter. We are in our second quarter. And the thing I want to tell you that today is that it is game time. It is time to get serious. It is time to put in the work. It is time to realize that we're not in practice mode anymore. That when we go somewhere, that we have to have the right intentions, that we have to realize that we are there on purpose, and that wherever we go, we leave an impact. Because that is exactly who Jesus was. And man, I can't imagine my life any different than what it is right now. Or maybe I can, but it's not what I want, and I don't think that's what God wanted for me. You see, there are decisions I could have made along the way, but there were also people along the way which helped me and guided me to not make those decisions. Man, what is the turning point that you could be for somebody else's life? What is a conversation that you could have for somebody else's life? What is a person that you could be? What is a time where you can listen instead of speak? What is a time where you can speak instead of listen? What are those times? There is a turning point that you're going to have in somebody else's life. Maybe you're looking for that in your life. But man, it's time, and it's game time. I love you guys so much, and I pray that this whole series is awesome. I'm so excited. Next week, one of my very good friends is going to be speaking to you guys just about a story from his life. But hey, I just want to pray with you guys, and then we're going to get out of here. God, thank you so much for this time. God, thank you just for your spirit being here. God, thank you just for Jesus meeting Zacchaeus. God, I pray that in the middle of our busyness, in the middle of our lives, God, that we can see the people who are ready to be impacted. We can see the people who are ready to meet you, God. We can see the people, and we can realize that we're here on purpose. We're in situations on purpose. It's never by accident, God, because you never waste a moment. God, we love you. I pray that you go with my friends this week, and we love you. In the name of